So, every year of this channel, I've done a reading plans for the year, and I have gotten progressively worse at following those plans. So I was going to just not do it this year, but I want to. Don't go back and watch the reading plans for 2023 and then check the Goodreads and see what I actually read. Because, like, I've been lying in that video. I'm like, I'll read this for sure. I fell off more than I expected to. So, this time, I'm not going to be like, this is what I'm definitely going to read, and then I also want to read this. I have, to my left, multiple stacks of books. And I'm going to give them all a scale of likely to unlikely. And I'm also going to mention, there's a bunch of series that I've started that I don't own the follow-ups to, that I'm probably just never going to continue. I may mention those as well. But this is books I own, which I'm going to try and buy less book ones, not very many like book ones of series. I'm going to try that the books I buy this year are continuations of these. And we're gonna rank them on this scale. We're gonna rank on Bank It, which I'm definitely going to read. And I'm going to be quite conservative with this rating because I don't want to lie as much as I did last year. I don't like that I was so wrong so many times last year. Then we've got like high likelihood, which is like, I'm probably reading these. These are actively like when I'm thinking in my head of like, what should I read next? These like briefly come up. And we got medium, which is like, it could happen. Then we got low, which is like, it's probably not happening. Let's be real. Like, there's a good chance none of the ones I put on low are happening. And then we have the final, which is, I'm basically looking for an excuse to give this away. So let's go see how we do. I guess I'll give 5-star predictions as well at the end, because the 5-star predictions are fun. But funny thing is, usually the 5-star predictions, like, I want to get books that I gave 9.5 or higher, which I actually forget what my 5-star predictions were for 2023, but I didn't give any books 5 stars for 2023 other than rereads. So, probably, obviously it's February 1st. Probably Disquiet Gods would have been one of the 5-star predictions. It would have been very close. But, alright, let's do it. Okay, start off, I've got some fancy books here. We have Brothers Karamazov, the Eastern Press edition. I'm probably not reading this in 2024. I'm just going to be honest. Like, it's more likely I read Crime and Punishment. I own this, it's nice, and I should read it. It's probably not happening. We're just going to be realistic about this. I want to have read this in 2024, but I'm probably not going to. I can say very similar things about the Iliad. It's probably not happening. And Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. I read the first one of these. These two are more likely than Brothers Karamazov. They're not likely. All three of these are going in low. Okay? And then we're going to end with one in medium. This one is definitely more likely I read than the other. Last fancy edition of a book I haven't read. That's not true. Second last fancy edition of a book I haven't read. And that's Count of Monte Cristo. This is a thick book. This one is medium. I want to read this. I will read this before I read these. If I read these, it means I had a really productive year and also read this. So this is going in medium. That's stack 1. We got 3 lows in a medium. Let's go. We're being more pessimistic this year. All right, stack number 2. This is a stack of series that I have already started. In one case, it's like a connected standalone. The first one I have that I would love to claim is Bank. But I'm going high likelihood. Oh, hello. Is Vin just barely... Yeah, there she is. She's barely making a cameo. Do you want to come be in the video? Whatever. Is The Lonesome Crown by Brian Lee Durfee. Which is not Bank because... Here's the thing. I really like book 1 and 2. But they have a lot of names. And I tried doing The Forgetting Moon on audio. I just don't like it on audio. I've tried doing The Blackest Heart before to do a reread. I know the narrator's good. I just don't like the dialogue or the internal monologue. I just don't like them on audio. So I'm going to have to either bite the bullet and reread them, which is going to take a lot of time because they're thick, or just read this and hope I can remember what the hell's going on. If anyone has a good summary of the 5 Warrior Angels, like, first 2 books, please send it to me. I desperately need it. But we're putting this in high likelihood. It's not in the bank, but, like, I'm probably going to read The Lonesome Crown. Next up, we have The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. I read The Golden Compass a while ago. I liked it. I didn't love it. Like, I didn't think it was exceptional. There were some things that I thought were pretty silly in the resolution. But I think Philip Pullman's a good writer. This is medium likelihood. I definitely, like, this is an ongoing, like, really well-known series that I want to have read. But there's definitely, I can't quite put it in high likelihood. But I want to read it. Next up, we have The Shadow Throne, which is by D'Angelo Wexler, which is book 2 of the Shadow Campaigns. I'm not going to... This is just one of those where I read book 1. I liked book 1. I thought it was fine. I started book 2. I decided I didn't care. There's nothing... I don't have anything against it. I just don't care what happens. It's low. I'm not going to read this year. Next we have Men at Arms by Terry Pratchett. I want to read... I didn't read any Discworld novel in 2023, which I'm not happy about. But I don't know if I can put this in high likelihood, because I want to read this year, but the ones that are high likelihood, they're the ones that I'm, like, planning on reading in the next couple months, and things can change in the month. So I'm going to put this in medium, borderline high likelihood. Children of Dune. I'm reading Children of Dune's high likelihood. I need to continue, especially because I'm going to see the movie, and I'm going to be all hyped on Dune. Yeah, Children of Dune... I will probably read. I love Dune 1. I was mixed on Dune Messiah. I want to read Children of Dune. And then I'll be excited for God Emperor of Dune. High likelihood. Endymion. Similar story for this. But I think I like both Hyperion novels. Like I like Hyperion more than I like Dune. And I like Fall of Hyperion more than I like Dune Messiah. But it's very close for both. But I don't have, like, God Emperor of Dune sitting as book 4 to motivate me. And there's no Hyperion movie. So we're going to put this in medium. It's definitely possible I read it, but not super likely. And we have Iron Gold, which is book 4 in Red Rising. I am waiting for the Red God to come out. Not because I have any problem with waiting, but because I don't feel like rereading them and forgetting everything. So when Red God is coming out, I will read Iron Gold, Dark Age, and Lightbringer. I'm pretty excited for them. Lots of people who I trust, who I like the Red Rising trilogy. Note it was not an honorable mention in my top, like, series list, but I like it. Eventually I'm going to do my all series tier list. It's going to be in B. But I know a lot of people who are similarly enthusiastic about the first trilogy, who then, like, the second trilogy has the second. In my mind, it's 2 sub-series. Like, I know it's just called the Red Rising Saga now, but in my, like, I feel like, is this a thing or am I Mandela affecting me? It used to be that the first 3 books were called the Red Rising trilogy, and the next 3 were going to be the Dark Age trilogy. But, like, now it's just all the Red Rising Saga. Whatever. Morningstar is the final book in a trilogy. I don't care. This is book 1 of the next sub-series. Even though that's not how they seem to be categorized anymore, I'll probably read these in 2025. All right, next up, and we have ones that you can put in the bank. I will likely read these this month, in February. And that is the second half of the Long Price Quartet. I've got the Bind Up, the Price of War. I will read these this year, 100, unless I, like, die. Yeah, if I don't read these, it's because, like, my entire book collection got burned down or something, like, really bad happens. In any normal situation, I am reading this. It's probably going to, like, I will probably read The Autumn War in February and The Price of Spring in March. Yeah, okay. That's an ongoing series that I actually own. There's a bunch of other ongoing series, like Murderbot. Oh, wait, no, there's one I forgot about. I see you. I forgot about you. Calvin's War, Expanse Book 2. I liked Expanse Book 1, but I don't feel like I'm going to read this. It's just a long series. I don't feel like I'm going to probably read this when I'm in the mood to binge like multiple of them, and I'm not. So probably low probability that I read Calvin's War. All right, that's an ongoing series where I actually own the continuation. There's a bunch of other ongoing series, like I read Binti, which has follow-ups. I'm not going to continue Binti. I read City of Brass. It's a bunch of book club books that I just read because it was a book club, and like I'm not going to continue those. I'm not going to go buy the next book for those. And if you give me the next book for those, I'm probably not going to. I'll find someone to give them to in all likelihood. This is the series where I'm in the middle of and own the continuation. So, I guess I technically... Alright, let's do it. Forge of Darkness by Steven Erikson. I read this much of this, and then I decided, which I was on page 700, and then I decided I didn't want to anymore. And I temporarily took a break, and I just don't want to... It's a DNF. I DNF'd it. Am I going to give it another try in 2024? It's possible, but unlikely. I found it pretty frustrating, and it was annoying because, like, the writing was really good. There were so many good quotes, but, like, you know, normally, someone might post good quotes from a book, and you're like, yeah, whatever, but then you read them in the book, and you're like, that was fire. The opposite happened here. Like, when I see Forge of Darkness quotes when other people are reading it, I'm like, that goes hard. But then in context, it doesn't go any harder. It's just like, oh yeah, that was the quote. I don't have an emotional connection between that quote and the character saying it. I didn't feel an emotion while reading this book. It had tons of crazy lore. The writing was good. It had some cool stuff, but it was so frustrating structurally. Like, it would just start POV, go to a completely new POV, like, all these characters that just weren't distinctive enough for me to care about them. Even if there were a lot of really good words, I'm probably not. This is low likelihood, but is something that I'm in the middle of. I read 700 pages of it though. How many pages is this? 900. It's only 200 more pages, but it's 200 more Forge of Darkness pages. That's like 400 pages of like normal books. So right now, if you're doing math of how many books I expect to read and how many books and how long this video is, you're probably getting worried that I'm going to be like, I have a high probability to read 67 books and a medium probability to read 109 books, which is just not very plausible. But actually, I don't have the amount of books that I just said. And also, originally, I was going to go through these are the ones I'm probably going to read. These are the ones I might read. These are the ones I probably won't read. But I just didn't feel like doing that. So the ones that are closer to me generally are higher likelihood. And we have the bankest bank to ever be a bank, which is Shards of Honor by Louis McMaster Bujold, which I started last night. Debatably whether it should be included in this video. But I read Chapter 1 last night. Chapter 1 was good. Started quite a bit faster than I expected to. Curse of the Shaman was a bit of a slow burn. Good Chapter 1. Also by Bujold is The Hallowed Hunt. This is more medium likelihood. I'm going more sci-fi with Bujold this year. I'm going to be on a trip to Vietnam in March, and I'm only bringing my Kobo, and my plan is to just binge Vorkosigan while I'm on that trip. Like, I'm just going to have a bunch of Vorkosigan books on the Kobo, and we're going to read Vorkosigan for like 3 weeks. Yeah, like 3 weeks. So Hallowed Hunt is probably medium likelihood. Next we got Pride and Prejudice. This is, I think, my sister's copy that she just kind of left when she went to university. But medium likelihood that I read it. And I should read some Jane Austen, right? It's a nice edition. It's folio. Let's say medium likelihood. Wizard of the Pigeons by Megan Lindholm, who, for those of you who don't know, is Robin Hobb. I finished Soldier Son, so now I want to start going through the Megan Lindholm book. And this copy is signed because I was at Emerald Con, and then after the original signing, when I went to the bookstore, Robin Hobb was there signing books, and I realized I forgot to get this signed. So I got it signed as well. Robin Hobb's super nice. And it's Robin Hobb. Is it high likelihood? It's pretty short. It's Robin Hobb. I don't want to have a year with no Robin Hobb or Megan Lindholm. It's the same person. But it's probably not going to read it. It's not like in my immediate plan. So I'm going to say medium. And again, it's like a pretty high medium, though. We have Blood Over Bright Heaven by M.L. Wong. It's pretty likely I read this. I'm rereading Kaigen because the book club is doing it in February. And I want to read Blood Over Bright Heaven. M.L. like Kaigen's really good. I've heard really good things about this. It's supposed to be fast paced as well. And I'll probably at some point like read multiple slow books in a row and be in the mood for something fast. And something that is both fast-paced and I'm expecting to be like really high quality and really good is something that I'll probably be looking for at some point during the year. So that's pretty high likelihood. We have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which I definitely want to read. I have read Pure Nessie. Pure Nessie is brilliant. I have a lot of respect for Susanna Clarke as a writer. It's just long. And like, I'm not expecting it to be like page turny. So it's probably going to take me like 2 weeks to read it when I read it. So I need to find the month where don't already have too much stuff to read that month. We're going to put it in medium. I really want to read it, but it's definitely possible I don't. And last in the stack, we have Beyond This Dark House by Guy Gavriel Kay, which was a gift to me by Evie from She Was the Only Evie. She Was Only Evie. I feel like that name changed recently, and it was She Was the Only Evie, and now it's She Was Only Evie. Like, it used to be like, this is the only Evie out there, and now it's like, it's only Evie, which seems less impressive, and if I'm right, it should be changed back. I don't really read poetry, but it's Guy Gavriel Kay, and I don't want to be called a fake fan, so, like, I'm probably going to read it. I did read page 1 of this, and I was like, maybe I'll enjoy it. But it is poetry, so I'm going to say medium likelihood. Bam. I've picked up a stack from further away from me, so let's see how this goes. All right, next stack. We have The City We Became. Is it likely I read The City We Became? Probably not. This would be low. It's I do one thing that makes me want to read it is that Oliver from Alex's Discord really doesn't like it, and if I really don't like it, then I can convince him to try the 5th season, because I can be like, look, I don't like The City We Became, and I think the 5th season is brilliant, and then if I do like it, then I read a book I really like. So the only bad outcome is if I read it and just like thought it was fine. But even then I might be able to be like, see, I thought it was fine, and I think the 5th season is amazing. So, but if I'm being honest, it's probably not happening this year. It's between low and medium. We're going to say low. We're going to say low. I'm probably not reading it. I'm going to be honest with myself. Crime and Punishment. Medium chance. I might read Crime and Punishment this year. I want to read Crime and Punishment this year. It's a classic. The Ice Dragon by George Martin. Like, this is like so short. I could read this like in, look at the font, like I could read this in 14 minutes and it's just been sitting on my shelf this entire time. I'm probably gonna just keep pushing it back and not read. Like, let's be honest with myself. If I'm like one below my reading goal for the year, I might just bang out the Ice Dragon in half an hour. But let's be real, I'm probably gonna forget about it. Probably low. Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I'm just not that excited about it. Low. I'm probably not reading Upgrade. Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. Probably not reading it. There's more things I'm more excited for. Low. Bone Shard Daughter by Andrew Stewart. Things I'm more excited for. Probably not reading it. Low. Yay, that was fast. That needed to be fast. This video is going to go too long. Okay, we have another stack. More likely ones. Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. An Exhalation by Ted Chiang. I meant to read this on vacation this year, but then I saw The Dispossessed in a bookstore, and I was like, oh, wait. This is the book club read. I was planning on not being able to make it. I'm actually going to be home in time. I could read this in time. And no regrets, because The Dispossessed ruled. But I really want to read Stories of Your Life and Others. Exhalation was genius. High likelihood. Very high. The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell. I gotta get to this. This is again, but medium or high. There's just a lot of things that I'm like, I gotta get to. So I feel like I have to put it in medium. Like, most of these mediums, like, I'll be disappointed in myself if I didn't read. But I know I'll be disappointed in myself because I won't read them all. Whatever. Player of Games by Ian Banks. This is the book club read for March, so I'm reading it high. I've failed to read book club reads before, so I'm not putting it as bank. But I'm reading Player of Games. The Bone Ships by R.J. Bakker. I literally only just bought it because it looked like live ship covers. But I've heard good things. Medium likelihood. I want to read it. All right. Fifth Path. Are you here? Are you watching? Pay attention. If you're listening to the, pay attention. Ready? Memory and Dream by Charles DeLint. I'm reading this year. High likelihood. Quite high. This is being read. So Fifth Path is a commenter. He's on Sarah's Discord, who has been asking me to read Charles DeLint for like years at this point, and I've let him down. I'm reading it this year. No longer. Ladies of Grace of Jew by Susanna Clark. This is a short story collection by Susanna Clark. The next Susanna Clark I read is gonna be Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and that's medium, so I feel like this is low. I'm probably not reading this year. The Hidden Girl and Other Stories by Ken Liu. Ken Liu's other short story collection. High likelihood. I love Ken Liu. He's one of my favorite authors. I'm gonna read this year. Probably. Not with enough surety to put it in the bank. Which I think I've only put Long Price Quartet and Shards of Honor. And those are probably the only two going in the bank it tier. Because the others, I don't trust myself. Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. Is this signed? I got this when Guy Gavriel Kay and J.M. Miro, it is signed, had a talk in Vancouver. And I went and talked for the Guy Gavriel Kay. And then I kind of felt bad because, like, everyone was going to get their book signed by Kay. And he didn't have a lineup. But I was like, why not? Maybe it'll be good. So, I want to say medium. I'm probably not reading it this year. I don't want it to just sit on my shelf forever, though. Like, I do want to read it at some point. We're going to say low. I'm probably not reading it this year. And last we have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is high. I want to read this. I almost read this last year. If I'd read River of Stars in time, that I could have banged this out in like a day or two to get one more book done for the year. I would have. So similar spot as Ice Dragon, except it's quite a bit longer, but I'm more excited to read it. I read Chaos Walking Trilogy. It was brilliant. I know multiple people, Jay and Brian, both love this, and I haven't heard bad things. So, high likelihood. Okay, next stack. First, we have the same thing that I accidentally basically bought the same thing twice, because I bought a Le Guin book, and for some reason, do you know how long I thought I owned Lathe of Heaven? And that this was Lathe of Heaven? And then I'm like, oh no, it's 3 books in the Hainish cycle. But then I have all the books in the Hainish cycle in these 2 hardcovers. By the way, these are like 1,000 pages each almost. Like, this paper is thin. So, I am going to, at some point, start this just from the start of Volume 1 and just go read it in order. I don't know, probably, like, the trade paperback is floppier and nicer, so when I get to the ones that are in this, I will probably read them in this. The chances that I read everything in here is quite low. The chances that I read something in here is, like, nearly bank territory, but we're going to say high likelihood, because it's the nearly that'll get you. And I want it when I say bank, it's like 100%. Like, there's only one other book that I'm putting in the bank, and it's Stormlight 5. I'm reading Wind and Truth. Even though it comes out in December, the chances that I don't read Wind and Truth are probably, like, less likely than me not reading Long Price Quartet, right? Like, if I don't read Wind and Truth when it comes out in December, something really bad happened. Like, even if I was homeless in December, I'm probably stealing Wind and Truth. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like, for legal reasons, that was a joke. Okay, next up is Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I want to read more Cormac McCarthy. I read No Country for Old Men. It snuck onto my top book list last year. It was really good. Blood Meridian is also one of those books that has a chance of becoming someone's personality. And it's always fun to read those, even if they very rarely become my personality. But, you know, we're going to say high likelihood. It's very likely I read Blood Meridian. Way of Kings Prime. I'll read this one day. Probably not in 2024. Probably while I'm endlessly waiting for Stormlight 6 and I just need Stormlight content. That's when this is happening. Like 2028. Low. It's not happening. Dragon's Path by Daniel Abraham. Probably depends how much I like the last two Long Price Quartet books. I could get Abraham obsessed and be like, I need more. Medium likelihood. But like low medium, if we're being completely honest. Okay, next up we have a book that I have to read to not personally disappoint my mother, which is The Kite Runner. I read I Know This Much Is True last year on the recommendation of my mom. It was really good. So I feel like it'd be a betrayal to like read a book at her recommendation last year, have it be wildly successful, and then not read one this year. So high likelihood The Kite Runner is happening. Empire in Black and Gold by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So I'm going to read something by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And I said I want to read the books I own, so I guess it's likely I read this one. I did ask Alan which one I want me to read next, and he said Guns of the Dawn. And then I was like, why did I ask when I own Empire in Black and Gold? Alan, if you're watching this, do you care if I ignore your advice and read this instead? Because you really like this as well, right? Medium likelihood. High likelihood I read something by Tchaikovsky. We'll see if Alan comments on this. Here's Die by Matthew Stover. I'm reading this. High likelihood. Voice of War by Zach Argyle. This is vaguely on my radar. Probably not going to read it this year, if I'm being completely honest. But we're going to say low, but like medium low. Darkness Comes Before by R. Scott Bakker. I want to be friends with Jimmy still, and I feel like if I read this and don't like it, we might not be friends, but if I don't read it at all, we definitely won't be friends. So I feel like I gotta read Darkness Comes Before. So high likelihood, it's on the list of, like, pretty high of the series I want to start next. A Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge. I really want to read this. I've been trying to get the book club to read it for a long time. I just really like the cover. I really like page 1. It just sounds dope. But I don't know if it sounds dope enough for me to put it in high likelihood. The next one is high likelihood. The next one is Borderline Bank. And that's Too Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. I'm really excited. Like, just the way people are talking about it, I'm getting that feeling. That, if there was the year of Hobb, where, like, my favorite books were all Hobb, and then, like, the year of Guy Gavriel Kay, could there be a year of Ada Palmer? I just have the feeling that it could be genius, you know? So yeah. Borderline Bank, but very high likelihood. Like, I'm reading Too Like the Lightning probably in the first half of the year, I would say. Borderline 100%. Okay. All Quiet on the Western Front. Kind of embarrassed I haven't read this, but I've been not reading it for like 8 years, so I can't put it in high or medium. Low likelihood, but I should read it. Whatever. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I'm going to read this before Blood Meridian, and Blood Meridian was high likelihood, I think. It might have been medium high. If I said high for Blood Meridian, switch that to medium. This is high likelihood. This is the next McCarthy I'm reading. Titus Grown by Mervyn Peake. I'm really excited for Titus Grown. High likelihood for Titus Grown. This is one I definitely want to read this year. I have very high expectations for it. In terms of writing and storytelling. One of the premier pre-Tolkien fantasy stories. Yeah. The things like the pitch for it used to sound not exciting, and now it sounds exciting. Shadow of What Was Lost. It's funny, if you go to my Goodreads and Want to Read, I think this has been first on the Want to Read. And I used to, like, follow that order. It's been first for, like, a year. So, at this point, I'm probably not reading it. Low. No, medium. I could read it. If I want something fast, medium. Medium likelihood. Catch-22. Now, don't tell my English teacher from high school, because I was supposed to have read this for an assignment I did, but I procrastinated, and I wrote my report based on Spark Notes, because at the time it wasn't the type of book I enjoyed. But now I feel like it is the type of book I would enjoy. Medium likelihood. Do androids dream of electric sheep? I really like page 1. But it's not exactly like as high on the list of the others. We're going to say medium likelihood. And then there were none very similar. Medium likelihood. I want to read it, but it's not immediately on my radar. The Arithmetist. I shall read this either when I just don't have enough Sanderson to read, which is pretty productive. But there's going to be a gap between Stormlight 5 and the Mistborn, so probably somewhere in there. So probably low likelihood for this year. Okay, moving on. Genesis of Misery. My sister got me this for Christmas. It wasn't on my radar at all before that, so it's kind of behind the books I own that are on my radar. Sorry, Shaylin, I'm probably not reading it this year. Dead Man's Hand by James Butcher. I kind of bought this on a whim. I'm probably not reading it this year. Sorry, Jim. Circe or Cirque, however you pronounce it, by Madeline Miller. I don't know why I own this book. I don't think I bought it. Is this my sister's book that she left here? I'm honestly not sure. I'm probably not reading it this year. Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I meant to read this last year. It might have been one of my 5-star predictions. I'm probably reading it this year. Do I want to say high likelihood? I feel like there's been quite a few high likelihoods. I'm probably only going to read like 40-something books this year. So there can't be 40-something high likelihoods, because if I give 45 books high likelihoods, that means I'm reading 3 medium likelihoods, and the medium likelihood should be about 50-50. So there should only be like 15 high likelihood books on this list. Medium likelihood. Man Called Ovi. Only Bachman book I own. It's short. Keep talking to me about it, and I'm more likely to read it. Right now, medium likelihood. Revenge of the Sith by Matthew Stover. I'm going to read Heroes Die. I want to read Revenge of the Sith, because apparently this novelization is fantastic. Medium likelihood. The Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. It's Fonda Lee. Fonda Lee's really good. But again, what I said about, I want to read about half the medium likelihoods on here. This isn't high likelihood. This is medium likelihood. And Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, it's embarrassing that I haven't read this. Medium likelihood. Okay, Way of the Shadows by Brent Weeks. I am waiting for someone to meet someone who likes this so I can give it to them, because I'm never going to read it. Oh, I was just worried that would scare the cat, but actually she was quite chill about it. Sorry, Vin. I didn't mean to make a loud noise. Cool. She's okay with it. Foundation. I bought this when I saw, the trailer of the Foundation TV show, and the trailer looked really sick. But then, I stopped caring. I'm probably not reading it. Low likelihood. Green Rider. Someone on Jimmy's Discord, this is their favorite series. I haven't heard anything about it since. Low likelihood. Curse of the Mistwraith by Janie Wirtz. It's on the list, but in the long term, low likelihood. 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City. I'm probably going to read this. I want to read a KJ Parker. I know this isn't the place Alan recommends to start with KJ Parker, but I really want to see 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City, because I think a lot of the time, when there's sieges in books, and they just, take it, I'm like, what was the point of the fortification? Fortification should be hard to take. There are lots of ways to defend a walled city, and a book about defending a walled city that goes in super detailed, in an accurate fashion about defending that walled city sounds dope. Still medium, though. Not quite high likelihood. We Are Legion. We Are Bob. We Are Legion. We are Legion. The time of our return has come. Our numbers will darken the skies of every world. I'm probably not reading it this year. Low likelihood. If you got that reference, you're cool. Let me know down below that you are beyond my comprehension. You are fill in the blank. To the personal disappointment of Vess, there's almost, I'm not reading Prince of Fools this year. I'm just going to be honest with myself. Low. Magician Apprentice. I'm probably not reading it this year. Low. Unfinished Tales by J.R.R. Tolkien. I am currently reading The Silmarillion, but it took me a long time to read The Silmarillion after I finished Lord of the Rings. So it feels unlikely that I'm going to read these. What are these about? Of Tour. I recognize that name. Wait, is this Children of Turin? Hurin? I've got Narn Hin Hurin. It's 100 pages. Is this Children of Hurin? Or do I have to go... I'm supposed to read Children of Hurin instead of Chapter 21 of the Silmarillion. Someone let me know. Is the Children of Hurin in here Children of Hurin? Thank you. Darker Shade of Magic is my sister's book. I'm not going to read it this year. Uprooted. This got talked about maybe for the book club. If it's a book club book, I'll read it. If it's not a book club book, I'm not going to read it. Half King. This is my retirement fund. I randomly got these hardcovers. They were at my university's used book sale. Like all 3 hardcovers. Go Google how much they're worth. So I'm not going to read my retirement fund because I don't want to damage my retirement fund. This Savage Song. Even less likely than A Darker Shade of Magic. There's actually a small chance I read it. This is in I'm trying to give away tier. Darker Shade of Magic is just low probability tier. Okay. Sword and Planet. This has a Sun Eater story in it, but I might have already read the Sun Eater story. I'm not gonna lie. The chances of me reading the non-Sun Eater stories are like pretty low. What stories are in here? Is the last one the Sun Eater? Queen of Mid-Ashes. Yeah, Queen of Mid-Ashes is in here. I've read Queen of Mid-Ashes already. Queen of Mid-Ashes is fantastic. Chances I read the last of these, virtually non-existent. Yeah. Good Omens. Good Omens. I could read Good Omens. I read like the prologue of this a long time ago and I thought it was really good. Medium likelihood. The Gate, is the series The Gates of Rome, or is the series Emperor? Whatever. This, I'm not gonna lie. When I got this, I got home and I read page 1, and I actively disliked it. Or maybe it was the prologue. But, like, I actively disliked it for a couple reasons. Maybe the prologue is only page 1. And I actively dislike it because in the first sentence of them talking, it starts with Mark Antony and Julius Caesar talking. And it's, we're going to be killed for this, Marcus, he said. These are children, like, casually talking to each other while playing around. Why are they saying each other's name? And then, your fault, Gaius, for pushing me in. Who goes, your fault, John, for pushing me in. Like, whatever. And also, it's treating Mark Antony and Julius Caesar as, like, these buddy cop people. When, like, Mark Antony was just the replacement because the actual dude he trusted throughout his career wasn't willing to rebel. So, the first page actively pissed me off. I'm fully expecting to dislike it, based on that first page. So, I'm probably not going to read it for that reason. 3 Body Problem. Oh, more people keep really liking this. Medium likelihood. I might read it. I want to read it. I read the start of it, like page 1. I read page 1 a lot when I get books, and I thought it was good. Gotta get to this trilogy. I know a lot of people who have similar tastes to me, even if it's like an atypical book for them, end up really liking it. And Last Promise of Blood. I have lost all excitement for Promise of Blood. I'm not reading it this year. Okay, that's everything. That is all the books that I own that I might read. And there are a couple others that I know I'm going to read, but I don't own. Stormlight 5. I'm going to read a bunch of Orcos again. And follow-up of series. Like, I will probably read the next... What's the Terra Ignota books? I probably won't only read one. Similar for Darkness That Comes Before. And any of the ones that are medium that I end up reading. There's some Sun Eater short stories. A good amount of them. I'm currently rereading Empire of Silence on audio. And I'm going through that on reread. And I'm going to read all the short stories I haven't read. And I'm going to read Children of Hurin. Someone tell me below, is the Children of Hurin thing in the Unfinished Tales the same Children of Hurin? It's only like 100 pages. It's not even 100 pages. Is it a cut version of it? Dylan! Margaret! Tell me. I need to know. I'll ask you on Discord if you don't answer in this video. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Oh yeah, 5-star predictions. Okay, so first, I did 6 5-star predictions last year. We're just going to see how we did. I just looked at them. I did pretty well. Like, I obviously got none right, because for me to think I got it right, I have to have given the book 9.5. And my book of the year was Forest Mage, which I gave 9.4. So, that's tough. But Forest Mage was one of the 5-star predictions, which was my book of the year, which I feel like counts. And then The Spear Cuts Through Water was a 5-star prediction, which I didn't give 5 stars, but was really good. Augustus was a 5-star prediction. Gustus was on my top 10 list. Gave it like, it says 5 stars next to it on Goodreads, not on Storygraph, whatever. The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories. There's a story in there. The actual Paper Menagerie story, I would give 5 stars. I didn't give the entire collection 9.5, but still, one of the best books I read that year. And then I also gave 2 that I didn't read, which was The Stories of Your Life and Others and by Ted Chiang and Mere Dance by Lois McMaster Bujold. So I'm going to do 6 this year as well, because it's likely, I normally want to do 5. It's likely I won't read all 5. If I do read the other 5, the first one is The Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If I read all of the others, this is canned. This doesn't count. This is the 6th one. This is the backup. I think, now before, at that point, most people had told me they like Stories of Your Life more than Exhalation. Since then, I have seen people like Exhalation more. But still, it's Ted Chiang. It's probably one of the safer bets. Next, we're gonna go order of surety, I guess. We'll just go in random order. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. We're gonna shoot out for 5-star prediction. Susanna Clark's really, really good. And also, really long books sometimes have a higher ceiling and are more likely to hit that all-time favorite range just because they have more to work with. Even if, like, when they're not enjoyable, it's more of a slog to get through. So we're going to go Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell as a 5-star prediction. We are also going to go with The Price of Spring. Specifically, I'm picking book 4. It was tough. Like, I see some people like book 3 the most, some people like book 4 the most. I figure I already really like A Betrayal in Winter. Most people like the last 2 more. I'm going Price of Spring because I tend to like endings. Endings are usually, like, when an ending book is one of people's favorites, it's very often my favorite. You see this with Black Company. You see this with Dandelion Dynasty. Also, it's worth noting, in my plans, I did randomly go, I'll probably read Sarantine again, which I did do. And then the last one I have physically is Too Like the Lightning, which, as I mentioned, I just have a feeling about. I'd like to note there's a caveat here. I'm cheating. It's likely, from what I've seen, Perhaps the Stars has the coolest title and is people's favorite. If I get to Perhaps the Stars, that is my 5-star prediction, which does mean that if I give this 5 stars and I get to Perhaps the Stars and I don't give it 5 stars, I'm counting that as not a success. But if I get to Perhaps the Stars, that is my 5-star prediction. If I don't, Too Like the Lightning is my 5-star prediction. And then the last 2 I don't have physically. I'm picking Mere Dance, again, by Lois McMaster Bujold. It's supposed to be like, the way it's described for Vorkosigan is how, like, Dresden fans describe changes. And so that I picked it last year. I'm going to pick it again. It's more likely I read it this year. And lastly, as a layup, the last one is the only one where if it isn't 5 stars, I will be disappointed. And that's Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. Stormlight 5. This is like the lockiest lock to ever lock. Like, this is the... Yeah, if I give this 9.4, it will be I will be disappointed. That would mean it's my least favorite Stormlight book. It's a book I've been waiting. It's the Zeth flashbacks. It's a book I've been excited for like 9-10 years at this point. I've given all the previous books 5 stars, so that is the lockiest lock to ever be a lock, and that is my 6th 5-star prediction. And it's the one I'm definitely reading that one. So let's see how I do. See how many of the high likelihood, how many of the medium likelihood, and how many low. And for the other 2, I'll probably make a spreadsheet with which books are in which category. And at the end next year, I will see how I did. I'll post an image of that spreadsheet. Get out of the way so I don't feel like I'm blocking my own face. This is the spreadsheet. There you go. That's the books in all the various categories. Let me know how you think I will do, what you think of the 5-star predictions. Are you angry about the lack of inclusion of a book that I told you was on my radar, and now you see I don't own or isn't? That's tough. Bye, everyone.